my tyros. Today we're going to be talking about photography. If I know one thing, that thing is this. You cannot take a photo ever at any point in time without using the exposure triangle. The exposure triangle, it has three sides, just like any triangle, and in this particular case, the three sides of the exposure triangle are aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. And today, ISO is what we're going to be talking about. Most people call it ISO, but it's really ISO.
Did you ever notice that, Joe?
Ever notice what, Frank?
How most folks call them green onions, but they're really scallions.
Mm-hmm. Scallions.
ISO is the sensitivity of the camera. And you could compare it to the film speed of film cameras of yesteryear. ISO is where the darkest dark begins before you get up to the lightest light, the brightest white, in fact. So if you have a low ISO like ISO 100 or ISO 200, which I recommend you shoot at ISO 100 or 200 at all times, pretty much, you have the lowest amount of sensitivity to the light. Therefore, you have the highest dynamic range, the blackest blacks and the whitest whites, and certainly the grayest grays in between. But if you have a high ISO, you start your darkest point at a brighter shade. So you don't quite have the darkest darks, but you certainly include the lightest lights and some of the grays. Also, if you have a higher ISO, you have a more grainy look to your photo, more noise, as they might call it. But if you have a lower ISO, like ISO 100, pretty much no grain whatsoever. We have this train coming by here, this people mover. I'm going to take a picture of it. Now I'm going to bump the ISO all the way, take a picture again. Now here is with the highest ISO 1600. It's in focus and it's clear and crisp. Now here it is again with ISO 100. It's blurry because you had to have a slower shutter speed in order to get it properly exposed on this aperture priority that I'm shooting in. See, that illustrates the difference between a high ISO and a low ISO. Now, I have to say that in photography, using a higher ISO, that's going to introduce so much grain and noise that you might not really like your photo as much. But the most important thing about photography is having a story be conveyed through your work. Same thing with videography. Story is king. So if you have to bump up your ISO in order to get the shot, be brave and do it. You might have a grainier photo as a result of that, but you'll certainly have a better photograph. So my parting advice to you is to be brave. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to never miss a Ryan Ellis photography update. Want even more? Well, support me on Patreon to become a premium member.